A woman vanishes at 17. 7 years later, she is found alive in a shed behind a suburban house with a 5-year-old son who had never once seen the sky. This is the story of how they got out and what waited for them on the other side. 24-year-old Joy lives in a small room with her 5-year-old son, Jack. The space contains a toilet and bath in one corner, a makeshift kitchen in the other, and a single bed the two share out of necessity. The only natural light comes through a skylight. The door requires a passcode to open. Jack has never been outside the room. His mother, Joy, was abducted 7 years earlier by a man who has held her captive in that same space ever since. Jack was born as a result of the sexual abuse she endured in captivity. The only entertainment available to him is an old television set, which he believes to be a kind of magic box. In his understanding, the people on screen are not real. They are figures from another world, a place with trees and animals that exist somewhere beyond the ceiling. The film opens with Jack waking up and greeting the inanimate objects around the room: the chair, the wardrobe, the sink. Having encountered only 2 people in his life, he has formed attachments to the objects around him. He has no frame of reference for the outside world. Joy has never explained it to him, choosing instead to let him believe the room is all there is. The man who holds them captive is referred to by both Joy and Jack as Old Nick. He enters the room each night.
Quit the noise! Quit the noise! Quit the noise!
After 7 years, she has come to endure it as routine. He supplies them with groceries and occasionally brings clothing. The day the film begins is Jack's 5th birthday. Joy bakes him a cake using what little she has. Jack is disappointed to find it has no candles and tells her she should have asked Old Nick for some during their Sunday treat. Joy explains she can only request what is necessary. That evening, she settles Jack into a small cupboard before Old Nick arrives, as she does every night, so the boy does not have to witness the assault. Jack watches through the slats, frightened but silent. The following morning, a tooth falls from Joy's mouth while she is eating. She hands it to Jack, who keeps it. Their breakfast consists of a single piece of toast. Jack asks for something more, but Joy says nothing, aware there is nothing else to give. The next morning, Jack wakes to find a toy car on the table. Old Nick has left it as a birthday gift. Jack concludes that Old Nick must be a magician who can pull objects out of the television. He spends the day playing with it. At one point, he and Joy spend an hour shouting toward the ceiling, hoping to be heard. No one responds. During conversation that day, Jack mentions his imaginary dog, Lucky. Joy tells him plainly that Lucky is not real. Later, when she's not watching, Jack spots a mouse on the floor, the first live animal he has ever seen. He moves toward it, but Joy notices and chases it away. He is visibly upset. That evening, while preparing dinner, Joy leaves the toaster oven on too long and it catches fire. She extinguishes it and tries to clear the smell before Old Nick arrives. He notices it immediately upon entering, becomes angry, and insults her. When she responds sharply, he threatens violence. He mentions he was laid off 6 months prior and is struggling to cover their basic expenses. Jack, trying to stay quiet inside the cupboard, accidentally makes a sound. Old Nick moves toward it to investigate. To keep him away from her son, Joy draws him to the bed instead. Later that night, Jack slips out of the cupboard and walks toward them. Old Nick is awake and sees him. He moves toward the boy, but Joy throws herself over Jack to block him. Old Nick threatens to kill her, then leaves. Joy holds her son while he cries and apologizes for coming out. The following morning, the room is noticeably cold. The heater has been shut off. Old Nick has cut the power to the shed. Joy calculates that they cannot survive the cold for long, and given his financial difficulties, fears he may also begin withholding food. She decides to tell Jack the truth. She sits him down and explains that they are being held in a shed by a man who deceived her. She was 17 when Old Nick approached her, claiming his dog was sick and needed help. He used that pretense to abduct her. Before the shed, she had lived with Jack's grandparents in a house that had a hammock in the yard. Jack refuses to believe her. He insists that trees, houses, and hammocks exist only on television. Joy continues over the following days, gradually explaining the outside world. She shows him a dried leaf that has fallen onto the skylight. He points out that leaves are green and accuses her of lying.
Liar, pants on fire!
Jack,
Eventually, while watching television, he asks her whether trees and people are genuinely real. She answers calmly and clearly. He begins to accept what she has told him. Without delay, she begins planning an escape. She heats water and uses it to simulate a fever on Jack's forehead. She also forces herself to vomit and spreads it across the pillow to suggest he is ill. Jack cries through the preparation and says he does not want to go through with it. Joy presses forward. When old Nick arrives that night, she tells him the cold has made Jack sick. He touches the boy's forehead, registers the heat, and says he will bring antibiotics the next day. He leaves without taking Jack to a hospital, which had been Joy's hope. She sets the plan aside and devises another. She instructs Jack to pretend to be dead. She rolls him into a rug and trains him to unroll himself and run once he is outside. She tells him that old Nick will carry him out of the room and that he will encounter real people. People he must ask for help. Jack is frightened, but agrees to go through with it. When old Nick arrives, Jack is already wrapped in the rug. Joy is pretending to cry. She tells old Nick that Jack died during the night and blames him for it. Old Nick panics and carries the rolled rug out of the shed, placing it in the back of his pickup truck. He drives. Inside the rug, Jack feels the motion of the vehicle. He unravels himself and sees the sky above him for the first time. When the truck slows, he jumps from the back. Old Nick stops the truck and moves toward him. But by that point, Jack has reached a man walking his dog nearby. Old Nick hesitates when the man threatens to call the police.
I'm calling the cops, mister!
Then drives away, leaving Jack on the ground. Police are called. Jack is brought in and tells them about his mother. He shows them her tooth, which he has carried throughout. When he describes the shed they were not permitted to leave, the officers act on the information. Within hours, a rescue team locates the shed and brings Joy out safely. She is reunited with Jack. The two embrace. The next morning, they wake in a hospital room. Jack looks out the window, still processing what he sees. He and Joy take their first shower together. He is initially afraid of the running water, but adjusts. Doctors examine them both and find them to be in adequate health. They are advised to use sunscreen frequently, having had almost no exposure to sunlight, and Jack is given sunglasses in case the brightness becomes overwhelming. He communicates with the doctors only through Joy, whispering to her when he has something to say. Joy's parents, Nancy and Robert, arrive at the hospital. The reunion is emotional. They had come to believe their daughter was gone for good. Joy learns that her parents have divorced and that her mother is now in a relationship with a man named Leo. She and Jack are brought to the family home, where a crowd of reporters and onlookers has gathered outside. Jack requires assistance on the stairs, having never navigated them before. Leo is warm and welcoming to both of them. At home, Nancy suggests cutting Jack's hair. He quietly tells her his strength is in his hair. At dinner, the family shares a full meal. Jack tries ice cream for the first time and experiences a brain freeze. Joy notices that her father has made no effort to engage with Jack. She reads it as a sign that he is unwilling to accept a grandchild born from sexual assault. The two argue, and Joy takes Jack to her room. Jack struggles to adapt. He does not leave his mother's side and declines to interact with anyone else. Leo takes a measured, patient approach with him, speaking to him directly and without pressure. It helps. Joy, meanwhile, sinks into depression. Despite being free, she finds no relief. She pushes Jack to engage with the world and becomes short-tempered with her mother. The family's lawyer explains that the trial will require funding and suggests a primetime interview as a practical way to raise it. A journalist comes to the house. She asks Joy about self-harm, about her relationship with old Nick, and at one point raises the question of why Joy did not ask the abductor to surrender Jack to an orphanage, framing it as a matter of selfishness. The interview leaves Joy in a deteriorated state. The following morning, Jack goes to the bathroom and finds his mother on the floor. Joy has attempted suicide. Paramedics respond and she is hospitalized. In her absence, Jack remains with Nancy and Leo. Slowly, he begins to open up to them. Leo brings a dog home, and Jack, who had invented an imaginary dog named Lucky years earlier, is visibly delighted. One afternoon, Jack tells Nancy he wants to cut his hair. He says Joy needs his strength more than he does at the moment. Nancy cuts his hair. When it is done, Jack tells her he loves her. Nancy is caught off guard by it and barely manages to say it back. That same day, a child from the neighborhood calls Jack outside to play. He goes. It is the first friendship he has ever had. While he plays in the backyard, Joy returns home and watches from nearby. When they meet, she tells him the hair made her well faster. In the weeks that follow, Joy and Jack move through the world they were cut off from. They visit restaurants and parks. They install a hammock, the one Joy had described from her own childhood, and the one Jack had always wondered about. The two swing in it together. Jack then asks if they can go back to visit the room. Joy is caught off guard by the request but agrees. When they arrive, Jack looks around and says it seems to have gotten smaller since he remembers it. Before leaving, he walks through the space and says goodbye to each of the objects, the way he used to every morning when the room was his entire world. Recovery from prolonged captivity is rarely a single moment of relief. For Joy, freedom came with depression, a failed interview, and a suicide attempt. For Jack, it came with ice cream, a neighbor's dog, and learning to walk downstairs. Two people, the same experience, entirely different paths back to the world. That raises a question worth sitting with. When everything you know is taken from you and then returned, is it ever truly the same thing you get back or something else entirely? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.